But when you kind of take, let's say, the colors that they like or the style that they like, and you start putting the concept together and conceptualizing for them, it's very easy because they're like, oh my God, I love this. I don't really like this. And then you kind of pull from, and then you create the story.
Hello, and welcome back to the third episode of Bespoke. We're so happy to have you here. So, today we're going to be talking clients and designing with clients for
Oh, we are?
clients.
Okay.
Yes, how exciting. So, I just want to start off with what is the biggest difference you've noted when you're designing for a client versus when you're designing something for yourself?
Wow. Okay. I think designing for myself is so much more difficult because there's so many beautiful things and I just can't make up my mind. And even when we were designing our space, the new space of Sarah Z Designs, I designed everything and then I was back and forth on that green biophilic wall and I kept going back and forth. And what do you think? And what should I do? And my husband looked at me, he's like, what's wrong with you? Like it never takes you this long to make a decision. I'm like, I know it's so hard. Like I'm designing it for myself and I want to get it right. And he's like, just make a decision. And I ended up going with my initial gut feeling, and it ended up being great. But I find that sometimes when it comes to designing for myself, I'm a little more undecisive, where with the client, I'm like this, just so fast. And I just get it better.
And usually they kind of tell us what they want. They point us in a certain direction. But like with us, we're surrounded by samples and wall coverings. Someone's coming in every day. There's something nice and new and beautiful to see every day. So it's like choosing one is nearly impossible, especially if you don't have someone else kind of like pointing you in a specific direction. When it comes to like clients and their input and telling you exactly what they want, obviously we work to serve the clients and to give them what they'd like to get out of their interior, their home. But how do you kind of still maintain your creative voice while still meeting the client's vision? Like, what's that balance look like for you?
So it's pretty easy because we design for their functional needs, right? And their lifestyle. And they don't really know what they want. They have an idea of what they want. They have an idea of what they like. They have an idea of, what they love in their travels and their art and certain artifacts that they want to keep, which we kind of course, do our best to infuse into their project. But when you kind of take, let's say, the colors that they like or the style that they like, and you start putting the concept together and conceptualizing for them what the outcome is going to look like by putting samples together and color schemes and this texture and that texture, it's very easy because they're like, oh my God, I love this. I don't really like this. And then you kind of pull from, and then you create the story. They still can't imagine it, right? They're like, they always tell us, well, I don't know what that's going to look like. And I'm like, okay, let us draw it out and then you'll see it in the rendering. So it's really taking their ideas, but creating a whole story and an imagination and drawing it out and then executing it into the 3D renderings, and usually the end product is like the 3D
Yes,
rendering.
they're like one to one. The
So by
drafters
the
are so
third
talented.
change,
Mhm.
they already love
Right. And
what
they're
we're
attached to
showing
like
and
that thing.
they're attached to the design.
Mhm.
So it's pretty easy and it's kind of taking their concept and making it theirs and your own because it's a
Right.
combination, right?
It's like putting their ideas through the Sarah Z filter. It's
Exactly.
beautiful. Also, this is a fun question. Do you have any stories of when you've had to gently or maybe not so gently kind of steer a client away from something that just like absolutely would not work within the project?
Yes. So it was in the beginning of my career, and my client took me into Versace, which I love Versace. I do a lot of their stuff, but there was a standalone black and bumblebee yellow sofa in the showroom. And he said, I want that sofa. And I stood there in complete and utter shock. And I said, I'm so sorry, but there's no way in hell I'm putting my name on that sofa. It's not happening. So he said, but I love that sofa. I said, and that's fine. We're gonna redesign it in our own way to fit the space. And we took the sofa, we redesigned it beautifully with like a cream leather and like the same Versace emblem, but in a taupe, more subtle emblem than the bright yellow. It ended up being beautiful and fused beautifully into the design. And then we did a crocodile lacquer Armani dining table to go with it. But that wasn't so subtle. In other cases, I try to be a little more subtle and say, I don't know if that's going to work, or, a little more empathetic because I learned over
Right,
the years.
of
But,
course.
it is also your style and your design, and you
Mhm.
want to make sure that it
Right, and you
comes
wanna
out.
protect the
Yes,
integrity of
of
your
course.
design, of
100%.
course. So, do you have any advice for, like, approaching those creative differences when it comes to, like, clients? Like, for younger designers who don't have that same confidence as you to just be like, no."
So a lot of times you'll see that difference when you're sitting with a couple and they'll start arguing and she'll say, I love this, I must have it. And he'll say, well, no, I don't want it. And how do you infuse that? And you kind of try to get the information. Well,
Right.
why do you love it so much?
Mhm.
And why do
Like,
you
what do you
not
love
love it
about it?
so
Yeah.
much? And can we meet halfway? Because we
Mhm.
can change the finishes and we can change the colors. And if you really love it, how do we either tone it down or brighten it, or and you have to be the mediator. And that's why I say we're not only a designer, we're a psychologist, where you have to do it in a way where you make them know that you're listening to each one of them, and it's important for you to get to the final detail of why they really want it and why they incorporate it into their space. And I think when the client sees how interested you are and it's important to
Mhm.
you,
How important it is that you're delivering
exactly,
what they want.
right,
Like,
and then they get it, and then usually it's an easy settlement.
I love that. It's really important to find compromise throughout
Correct.
the design process. Are there any like specific pointers or things that you do like when you really come to those points where it's like you've reached an impasse, kind of?
So there was anything could be done. It's design and it's beautiful. And like I said in the first episode, it's all about energy infused and positive energy, because that's what goes into your design.
Right.
So I'll deal with anything and I'll work. I don't care. I don't hold people to a third change. I'll do anything as long as it's done with respect
And kindness and
and kindness and
understanding.
understanding. The minute a client becomes nasty, it's
Hmm.
not acceptable, and that's like
Right.
it's not,
We have a little
you know?
story about that,
Yes,
don't
we
we?
do.
Yes, we do. Would you like
We
to
have a
expand?
couple. So
Yeah,
in I have to say we're very lucky in my
we are.
career, and I've been blessed to have amazing clients and really nice clients. But there was one time that I hired a client hired us and she paid the retainer, and then she came in with her husband, and he was just we didn't even start. It was just
Hmm.
the retainer was our initial meeting. He was so rude to me and to her. And I just looked at them and I said, I'm so sorry. I cannot take on your project. Here's your retainer check.
Yeah,
And they were kind of shocked and they said, you know what? I don't
yeah,
think we are the designers for
yeah.
you. And that was it. And then recently we had a problem with a client that was really upsetting because we put so much
So
love,
much time.
passion, effort, and we've spent so many hours, over 400 hours.
Hmm.
We didn't even charge enough for the retainer, but it was just a love for the project and
Right.
really,
This is
and
gorgeous.
it was gorgeous and it was done beautiful and there was a lot of detail and we were very patient with the client, and it just took a turn where, the client was just like unappreciative, ungrateful, spoke down, and like made the team very uncomfortable. And I just put it out there that, this is only in the design phase where everything is still on paper and on renderings. And this is the easy part. What's going to happen during the execution and construction, where it's hard to control the subs, it's hard to control the finishes. Everything is out of your control. Things come in damaged. You are there to fix things
Right, like
personally.
damage
And
control.
yeah, we
Yeah.
are. And we save that from the client and we want to do it wholeheartedly. But at the same time, we want to feel appreciated because
You
we're
do.
putting our heart and soul into the
Yes.
project. And if we don't even have that kind word, then what's going to happen?
Mhm.
It's going to turn out into,
Yes.
and they just put it out there that
It's the bad
it's
energy we were
bad
talking about.
energy. It's not, maybe we're not the right designer. And I really got sick over it
Mhm.
because sometimes you feel like people, um, take advantage, but also take your positive energy away. And I really
Mhm.
got sick over it and ended up, we ended up parting ways.
Mhm.
Um, but I have to say that it was the
It
best
worked
thing
out
for
for the
the
best.
team. It was the best
Yes.
thing for me. And I'm sure I wish her luck
Mhm.
and the client's luck. And I'm sure it's gonna be great, whatever she does and
Of
whatever they
course.
do, but it wasn't for us
It
and it
was,
was time to
and
part.
that's okay. And like I
Yes,
said before, we're in a really, really fortunate position where we get to pick and choose our
right.
clients. And like you said, your teacher back from design school, she took that was one of her biggest pieces of advice. You have to go with your gut. If this project, this client is for you, it's for you. If it's not, it's not. You
Right.
can't
It's
break your
all
head over these things.
it's all about connections
Hmm.
and no matter how
Relationships.
badly you need the money, you'll find that nice client will come your way and you'll get your big break. It's you
Yes.
just, you
Hmm.
have to be positive and be grateful and
Yes.
have gratitude to whatever, even the smallest
Yes.
projects, because
It's good
it's the
energy welcomes to
smallest
step in. Yeah,
projects, right,
that
that
lead
lead
to the
to the
bigger projects.
exactly.
Yes. Yeah,
Yes.
amazing. And do you have any advice for newer designers who are struggling to kind of set those boundaries and kind of find their voice in that regard?
Just be honest and with your client and really put everything out there from the beginning. Put out your
Mhm.
terms, put out the way you like to work. Um, Make sure that there's always a level of respect and boundary that they don't cross.
Right.
And
Which gets hard because
it
like these
does,
can be
it
like
gets
they
very
become kind
hard.
of friendships. And
Right,
how often do you kind of like step over a line when you're discussing
right.
with a friend or you get
It gets
snippy
very
because you know
hard,
each
but
other,
you
you
do
know?
create a
Right.
friendship and really make it your passion because that makes everything much easier.
It really does. Well, that is a wrap for today's episode. Are there any last words of encouragement for our listeners who are still kind of figuring out where they belong in the design world that you have for them that could really help them out?
Don't be scared. We open our doors for any person that or any designer or anyone that just needs advice. We love to give back.
Mhm.
I had some great mentors I would love to mentor
Oh, yes.
and help you with whatever you need, whether it's a client advice, whether it's design advice, whether it's, your business paperwork
Mhm.
intact and a lot of like my friend designers that have been
Mhm.
in the industry for a long time, we do this and they give back as well. And we have
Right.
table talks where, we each bring our good stories and challenging stories to the table. And how would you handle this? And how would you handle that from
That's
other
good. It's like a nice
designers'
network.
perspectives?
Yeah.
So, because at the end of the day, we're all dealing with the same thing. And
Yes.
why not help each other out?
Right. It's nice to have that kind of support from people who are within the
100%.
same position as you are in the same field,
Right.
who can really inform like those issues kind of based on real life experience.
Right.
It's really
Correct.
useful, very helpful.
Yes.
Yeah. So thank you guys for tuning in and we'll see you next time on Bespoke.
Thank you, Christina.
Thank
Thank
you,
you. See you next
Sarah.
time.
See you next time.